Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's special edition of the Data Point. My name is Tim Hatt. I'm the head of consulting at GSMA Intelligence, and I'm super thrilled to be joined today by two people to talk with me about the latest edition of our Global Trends report this year, looking at the year ahead, that is 2023. We have James Kirby, who is the head of EMEA at CSG, and who has been a really great partner with us on this report, and Peter Jarek, who is the head of GSMA Intelligence. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, I want to start out this fireside looking at the 5G era, which is really one of the cornerstones of what we talk about in the report. And James, if I can come to you first. Establishing meaningful partner ecosystems as really at the top of the agenda for telcos in this era. How do you think operators should approach these partnerships in the 5G era while also driving an ROI on their investments?
Yeah, thanks. So it's a really interesting question. And, with the heavy investment that operators have put in to their 5G networks, getting a good ROI is really important. And I think one of the things that we're seeing with customers we're working with is they are really thinking of moving beyond just the connectivity and creating partner ecosystems that can bring more revenue to the table other than just the traditional data pipe that operators have been in the past. And by bringing multi-parties together in a B2B2X type environment, they can bundle more services to their end customers and enterprise customers, where they can bring in things like finance, healthcare, gaming, additional services that can be added on top, such as VPNs, secure network segments, and so on. They can also price and differentiate themselves based on latency. So things like gaming, certain financial services require really low latency. So they can have really differentiated kind of price plans in there when they bring these partners together. One of the things that really is key is to be very open with partners. The telecom environment has been particularly closed in the past, I think. And now we're actually going to be partnering up and bringing in people that sometimes have been competitors to telcos in the past to actually bring a real ecosystem together. And those operators that embrace that, the CSG Encompass platform that we've produced allows operators to do that, bring partners to the table with partner portal interfaces, allow them to put their services onto a marketplace and launch them very quickly and allow it to be consumed very easily and settle both parties, the consumer side, but also the partner side from a revenue perspective, is really how they're going to get that ROI for their 5G network they've implemented.
Yeah, so much to think about there, but it's really interesting. Peter, I wonder if you want to build on that, particularly as we talk about a lot of the new consumer use cases that are getting traction in the report.
Yeah, I think James is 100% right, and I think what's particularly important is just sort of the kicking off this idea of ROI, right? Because we could talk about partnerships, and those are important, but ultimately at the end of the day, they're about generating revenues, right? They're about helping to pay off that 5G network. And I think James called out a bunch of great different use cases, and obviously on the B2B side, we know it, and that's the big upside. B2C, right? There's gaming. Gaming requires some of those, same capabilities. There's even things like FWA. But I think for me, the most important part is, and this sort of goes off of what James says, it's being prepared to actually understand how to leverage those partnerships, right? It's not just enough to go out and find those partnerships, maybe play around with new companies. It's making sure when you do that, you've got the right BSS and OSS tools to include those into a service, right? You also have the right capabilities. I mean, James talked about what we can do with 5G. It's making sure you have things like SA in place or edge and slicing, or else those partnerships will be nice, but you won't be able to execute on them. And so I think for me, that's the key takeaway.
Very, very good. Thank you, guys. I want to pivot, towards APIs. We're seeing a lot of development in the API space, not for the first time, but a lot of renewed development now that operators are really looking to monetize the network. James, open APIs seem to be vital to help operators drive new revenue streams, both in consumer, but especially enterprise. Can you talk to us about some real world use cases that for you kind of show the potential for what it means to go beyond connectivity?
Yeah, no, I think as we were talking about in the previous question there, opening up to a partner ecosystem means the telco has to be open to partners joining. It also needs to be open in a very fast and agile way. Traditionally telcos have been quite kind of walled off and hard to work with. Now we're talking around things like open APIs. It allows an operator to really open themselves up and allows them to integrate to the services that their partners have to offer. It also allows those partners that are going to be part of the ecosystem to provision their services and accept orders through the open APIs that we have today. We're working with lots of customers around the world. VicTrack is a really interesting one in Australia, where using our Encompass platform and open APIs, they're allowing services to be set up really, really fast, such that they can have enterprises set up things like secure VPNs very quickly through open APIs. Long gone are the days of having to fill in forms and emailing documents backwards and forwards to get services up and running. Through the use of APIs, that can be enabled very, very quickly. It also allows a great reduction in cost. We talked about ROI. Yes, we want to get that revenue stream, but we also want to get it in a highly profitable way as well. So by using open APIs, we can actually cut out human interaction that's needed and allow things to be automated and real time, so that enterprises and businesses can get themselves up and running in the marketplace very, very quickly at low cost to the operator. That allows them to actually experiment and bring new services on quickly, change them quickly. If they're not working, you can adapt very easily. Historically, it was very, very expensive to get a service up and running. But now that we can actually do that very quickly through APIs, we can launch new services very rapidly.
Yeah, I think I would just chime in, just chime in with two things. One, follow up from I think the earlier question, which is key here, is just having the enablers in place, right? Whether it's the right capabilities to be able to charge and bill and integrate those APIs, or security, right? I think making sure that all that's secure, or else it's just going to fail. But I think for me, the most important or exciting part about the move towards open APIs is just when it can deliver on scale, right? Scaling out to new developers, reaching out to new communities. That's when you get innovation. I think we forget that, the big value proposition of open has really been scale leading to innovation. And I think that's what I'm most excited about, is what happens when we can actually execute on this, open up these capabilities to more developers, and what do we end up with at the end? Because I think there's a long track record of not knowing what the killer app is until we put these capabilities in the hands of lots of really smart, innovative developers.
Good point.
Well, the final question I have, that's a nice segue into, which is in the enterprise space. And James, I'll come back to you. Enterprise as a whole, of its many segments, is a major opportunity to accelerate, the growth and help operators monetize 5G investments. Aside from innovation and solution delivery, what else do telcos need to do to win in this area?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. And we've seen a lot of advances in the consumer side of a telco over the last 5+ years that really allow consumers to interact with a CSP very easily. You can subscribe to a new package, get a new device very quickly and easily, because the consumer side expects that, because consumers shop on things like Amazon, they use services like Uber. So they expect things to be very quick and easy and really good customer service. On the enterprise side, that's kind of been left to one side a little bit. But what we're now really seeing, I think, especially over the last year or two, is CSPs really embracing the need to up their game when it comes to enterprise customers, provide much better qualities of service and customer experience, such that enterprises can be part of that ecosystem. Where we have enterprises that are wanting to launch services, they're wanting to make their part of the money from putting those services in that ecosystem. They want to be able to see what's their return very quickly so they can adapt and adjust. If we don't have a really good ecosystem for the partners to interact with, the experience won't be good, and they'll go elsewhere. So providing the end-to-end holistic view of that enterprise, such that when they're putting services onto the platform or when they're consuming services, seeing how services are being used in real time, getting real-time data, using analytics so that they can actually tune what they're using the platform for, is really important. And that's where, with our CSG Exponent platform, we've been really focusing on the customer experience side, both for the consumer, but also now very much for the enterprise as well, such that we give constant feedback. We interact with those enterprise customers throughout the whole journey life cycle of everything they do and everything they interact with the CSP. So customer experience is going to be really key in the enterprise space if CSPs are going to thrive.
Peter,
Yeah, I would
just to you on that.
Yeah, I would just add, I think for me, it's we understand the enterprise is important for helping to generate upside off 5G. That's clear. But I think what, a bit of what we've said before, one, it's going to be really important that you have those capabilities to actually monetize and deliver on what you're doing, right? So delivering the customer experience, understanding it. But I think that visibility part and understanding is so key, because what's changed in the enterprise space over the last few years is they've come to work with cloud players, right? Where they can understand. You go to a portal, you see what you used, you sign up for new services. It's easy. It's what they're used to. And so, if CSPs really want to get into that space, they've got to see that, right? And they need the tools to actually deliver on that. And if they can, they're in a great place to actually deliver on that upside. But if they're not, then it's not going to work out so well. So I think it's just really having those right tools and enablers in place.
Guys, thank you very much for the great and candid responses. I know we covered a lot of ground over a short time, so thank you. For those of you watching, you can download the Global Trends Report at our website, gsmaintelligence.com. We would encourage you to do so. And please, as always, feel free to get in touch with us with any comments or questions. It's a big report. There's lots in it, but we hope it's very valuable to you and your organization. So Peter and James, thank you very much again.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, James.
Everyone. Thanks, Tim. Bye-bye.